That wasn't the moment I lost my husband. That was the moment he lost everything. I'm standing in the underground parking garage of Harrison Tech Group headquarters, watching my husband's black SUV rock violently on its suspension. Around me, employees from 3 different floors have gathered, phones out, mouths open. Someone's laughing. Someone else is recording. The fluorescent lights cast everything in stark, unforgiving clarity. The driver's side door flies open. Ryan Carter, CEO of Harrison Tech Group, tumbles out first. His shirt is half unbuttoned. His belt hangs loose. His face is the color of raw steak. 3 seconds later, Lily Moore follows. Her skirt is twisted. Her blouse is inside out. Her hair, usually pulled into that aggressive professional bun, hangs wild around her shoulders. They freeze when they see the crowd. I don't move. I don't gasp. I don't cry. I simply watch as the video spreads from phone to phone as whispers turn to open conversation, as my husband's career begins its 30-second death spiral. But I should start at the beginning. Or at least at a different beginning than this one. My name is Evelyn Carter. I'm 28 years old. I'm the legal wife of the man currently zipping his pants in front of 47 witnesses. I'm also something else, something almost nobody in this building knows. I'm the anonymous founding shareholder who owns 38% of this company. I'm the person who wrote the core algorithm that makes Harrison Tech's flagship product possible. I'm the woman who chose to stand in the shadows while her husband stood in the spotlight. Past tense on that last one. Let me take you back 7 years. Ryan and I lived in a 400-square-foot apartment in Pilsen. The radiator clanged all night. The neighbors upstairs practiced tap dancing. I worked as a software engineer during the day and coded our startup prototype at night. Ryan had the vision, the charisma, the ability to sell water to a fish. I had the technical skill to actually build what he was promising. We were partners, real partners, the kind who split instant ramen and dreamed about corner offices. I remember the night we incorporated. We sat on our futon, drinking $10 champagne from coffee mugs. Ryan held up his mug for a toast. To us? To building something that matters. To us, I echoed. I'm going to make you proud, Evie. I'm going to make this so big that everyone knows your name. I smiled. I believed him. I was such an idiot. The company grew fast. Faster than either of us expected. Within 3 years, we'd moved from that apartment to a penthouse in River North. We'd gone from 2 employees to 200. We'd gone from scraping by to 7-figure revenue quarters. And somewhere in that growth, something shifted. Ryan stopped introducing me as his co-founder. He started introducing me as his wife. Just his wife. As if that were my only function, my only identity. When investors asked about the technology, Ryan would launch into explanations using words I'd taught him, concepts I developed, architecture I designed. He never once said, "My wife built this." He said, "We built this," and everyone assumed he meant him and his executive team. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself that marriage was about supporting each other, not competing for credit. I told myself that as long as we were building something together, the details of attribution were irrelevant. I told myself a lot of comfortable lies. The first crack appeared 6 months ago. Ryan changed all his passwords, not just his work accounts, but his phone, his laptop, his email. When I asked why, he said something about corporate security protocols. The board wants all C-suite executives to use randomized passwords, he explained, not meeting my eyes. IT security recommendation. I nodded. I smiled. I said nothing about the fact that I was on the board, and no such recommendation had been made. 2 weeks later, I met Lily Moore. Ryan introduced her as his new executive assistant. She was 25, blonde, ambitious in the way that radiates from some people like heat. She had a degree from Northwestern and references from 2 Fortune 500 companies. On paper, she was perfect for the role. In person, she looked at my husband the way a wolf looks at an injured deer. I'm not a jealous person. I've never been the type to track phone records or demand access to email accounts. But I'm also not blind. I watched as Lily's work hours extended later and later. I noticed when Ryan started scheduling evening meetings 3, 4, 5 times a week. I saw how he'd shower as soon as he got home, how he'd do laundry himself instead of leaving it for our housekeeper. 3 months ago, I asked him directly. We were in our living room, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago River. Furniture that cost more than our first car. Ryan was pouring himself a scotch, his second of the evening. Are you sleeping with her? His hand froze halfway to his mouth. What? Lily, your assistant, are you sleeping with her? Jesus, Evelyn, no. What the hell kind of question is that? The kind of question a wife asks when her husband starts acting like he's got something to hide. Ryan set down his glass with deliberate care. I'm building a company. I'm working my ass off to make this successful, and instead of supporting me, you're accusing me of cheating based on what? The fact that I have a competent assistant? Based on the fact that you've changed all your passwords? Based on the fact that you're never home? Based on the fact that you look guilty every time I say her name? This is exactly why I didn't want to involve you in the business side of things, Ryan said, his voice taking on that patronizing tone I'd started to hate. You're too emotional. You can't separate personal feelings from professional reality. I wrote the code that runs this company. In the past, 3 years ago, the business has evolved. We've got real engineers now, people with advanced degrees and experience at major tech companies. Real engineers, as if I were something else, something less. I didn't argue. I simply stood up, walked to our bedroom, and closed the door. That night, I made a decision. I called our lawyer, not Ryan's corporate attorney, but the lawyer who'd drafted our prenuptial agreement 7 years ago. The lawyer who'd included a clause, at my insistence, about infidelity and asset distribution. I need you to prepare something for me, I told him. And I need it to be absolutely airtight. Are we talking about divorce proceedings? Not yet. First, I need to establish something. I've been an anonymous shareholder since the company's founding. I think it's time that changed. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Evelyn, if you reveal your ownership stake right now, especially if there's marital discord, it could create serious complications for the company's upcoming funding round. I'm aware, that's why I'm not going public yet, but I want the documentation ready. I want it filed with the board. I want it locked in before Ryan can manipulate the situation. And if he finds out you're preparing this, he won't because he doesn't believe I'm smart enough to think strategically. That brings us to today. Friday afternoon, Ryan had a major contract signing scheduled for 2 o'clock. A $7 million deal with a Fortune 100 client. The kind of deal that makes or breaks quarterly projections. I'd planned to be in New York this weekend, a software conference officially. A chance to clear my head and decide my next move, realistically. Then I got a text from an unknown number, a video, 19 seconds long. Filmed from above, security camera angle, 2 people in a parked car in the executive garage level. The SUV rocking, the windows fogged, the license plate visible in the frame. Ryan's custom vanity plate, Harrison Tech. The text that followed was simple. You deserve to know. He's been doing this for months. Different locations, but same car, same woman. Today's the biggest audience yet. I called my lawyer. Execute everything we discussed. Full disclosure of shareholding, board notification, emergency meeting protocols. I want it done in the next 30 minutes. Evelyn, are you sure? Once we do this, there's no walking it back. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Which brings us back to the parking garage. I arrived at Harrison Tech headquarters at 1:45. I parked on level B, took the elevator up to the executive floor, and walked into the office like I owned the place. Because, legally, I do. I own more of this company than anyone except the venture capital firm that provided our Series B funding. I made my way down to the parking garage just as the security alert started pinging on my phone. Motion detected on level G, executive parking. I wasn't the only one who got those alerts. Building security, facilities management, and about a dozen senior staff all received the same notification. The crowd gathered quickly. By the time Ryan and Lily emerged from that car, half the company had front row seats. Now, in the aftermath, people are scattering, heading back to their desks, their phones buzzing with messages, their faces showing every emotion from shock to vindication to secondhand embarrassment. Ryan spots me. His eyes widen. Evelyn, what are you doing here? I work here, I say simply. I've always worked here. You just forgot that part. Lily's already moving toward the elevator, trying to salvage some dignity by pretending this is a normal afternoon. But security has been notified. All executive access badges have been flagged pending review. When she swipes her card, the elevator doesn't respond. She tries again. Nothing. She turns, face pale. What's going on? I don't answer her. I keep my eyes on Ryan. We need to talk, he says, moving toward me. This isn't what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. And we do need to talk, but not here. Conference room A, 5 minutes. Don't be late for your own career execution. I turn and walk toward the elevator. My badge, the one I've carried for 7 years but rarely used, activates the executive level access without hesitation. 5 minutes later, I'm sitting at the head of the conference table. The same table where Ryan hosts his executive meetings, where he makes his grand pronouncements, where he accepts praise for work he didn't do. The door opens. Ryan walks in, his shirt now properly buttoned, his belt buckled, his face still carrying that red flush of humiliation and rage. What did you do? He demands. My access is restricted. Lily's been locked out of her accounts. What the hell is going on? Sit down, Ryan. I don't want to sit down. I want to know what you think you're doing. I'm taking control of my company. Your company? This is my company. I built this. No, I say calmly. You pitched this. You sold this. I built this. I wrote every line of the original code base. I designed the architecture. I solved the technical problems you couldn't even understand well enough to explain to investors. That was years ago. The company has evolved. On my foundation, using my patents, leveraging my intellectual property. Which brings me to an interesting legal question. Did you know that when you filed those patents, you listed yourself as the primary inventor? Ryan's face goes carefully blank. That's standard. The CEO is listed on company patents. Not when the CEO didn't invent anything? Not when the actual inventor has documentation, dated code commits, and witness statements proving she did all the development work. You're my wife. We did this together. We were partners. Then you decided I was just your wife, just your support system, just the woman who stayed home while you collected the credit. The door opens again. 3 board members file in. Marcus Webb, our lead investor, Catherine Liu, our CFO, James Harrison, the grandson of the Harrison family that originally funded our Series A, and the source of our company name. Ryan looks at them, then back at me. What is this? This, Marcus says, taking a seat, is an emergency board meeting, called by our largest individual shareholder. Ryan's face goes pale. What shareholder? I slide a folder across the table. Me. I own 38% of Harrison Tech Group. I've owned it since the day we incorporated. It's been held in trust, anonymously, but as of 30 minutes ago, that anonymity ended. Ryan opens the folder. I watch him read the documents. The original incorporation papers, the stock certificates, the trust dissolution forms, the patent correction filings. This isn't legal, he whispers. We're married. This is marital property. You can't just... Marital property, Catherine interrupts. Evelyn acquired her shares 7 years ago, before your marriage. The prenuptial agreement you signed explicitly keeps her shares separate from marital assets. I didn't sign anything that said she owned 40% of my company. You didn't read what you signed, I say quietly. You were so confident, so certain that the prenup was just a formality, that you signed every page without reading the attachments. Your lawyer advised you to review the ownership structures. You said you'd do it later. You never did. James Harrison clears his throat. Mr. Carter, we have some concerns. Beyond the personal situation, which is deeply inappropriate but perhaps resolvable, there are questions about your representations to the board. You've consistently taken sole credit for technical innovations that, according to patent filings and company records, were actually developed by Mrs. Carter. This is insane, Ryan says, standing up. You can't do this. I'm the CEO. I've grown this company from nothing. From my code, I say, from my algorithms, from my work. Our work. We were a team. We were, until you decided to take all the credit, hide your affair, and treat me like a convenient accessory to your success story. Ryan's jaw clenches. So this is what? Revenge? You're going to destroy everything we built because you're angry I made a mistake? A mistake is forgetting our anniversary. A mistake is double booking dinner reservations. What you did wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. You chose to betray our marriage. You chose to disrespect my contributions. You chose to rewrite history so that you were the sole genius behind Harrison Tech? I made you rich, Ryan hisses. You're living in a penthouse. You're wearing designer clothes. Everything you have is because of what I built. Everything you built stands on my foundation, and I'm done letting you pretend otherwise. Marcus stands up. Mr. Carter, the board would like to request your resignation, effective immediately. You can't force me out. I'm the CEO. You're the CEO because the board appointed you. The board can remove you. And given the circumstances, both personal and professional, we believe it's in the company's best interest that you step down. Evelyn, Ryan says, turning to me, his voice taking on a pleading quality I've never heard before. Don't do this. We can fix this. I'll end things with Lily. I'll give you more credit. I'll make this right. You'll end things with Lily? You mean the woman you were having sex with in your car an hour ago, in front of half the company? That's your starting point for making this right? It was a mistake, a stupid mistake, but we can get through this. No, I say softly, we can't. Because this isn't about Lily. This is about the fact that you looked me in the eye 6 months ago and called me emotional. Told me I couldn't separate personal feelings from professional reality. Suggested that I wasn't a real engineer. I didn't mean it like that. You meant exactly that. You've been rewriting our history for 3 years, Ryan, turning yourself into the sole genius and me into the supportive wife. And the worst part is, I let you do it. I told myself it didn't matter who got credit as long as we were building something together. But we weren't building together. You were building your ego, and I was your invisible foundation. Catherine slides another folder across the table. There's also the matter of the prenuptial agreement, Clause 17, subsection B. In the event of infidelity by either party, the betrayed party retains all separate property and receives 50% of all marital assets acquired during the marriage. Ryan opens the folder, reads, goes even paler. You knew, he whispers. When you had me sign this, you knew. I knew you were ambitious. I knew you were charismatic. I knew you had the capacity to prioritize yourself over us. So yes, I protected myself. I'm not a fool, Ryan. I'm just someone who wanted to believe in you longer than I should have. What about Lily? Ryan asks suddenly. Are you going after her too? Miss Moore has been terminated for violation of company ethics policies, Marcus says. Her severance package has been revoked due to the egregious nature of her conduct. She'll also find that her professional reputation in Chicago's tech industry will face significant challenges going forward. You're blacklisting her? We're making sure the circumstances of her departure are well documented, Catherine says coolly. What other companies choose to do with that information is their decision. Ryan slumps in his chair. This is excessive. This is vindictive. This is consequences, I say. For the first time in your adult life, you're facing actual consequences for your choices. Not getting bailed out by your wife, not having someone smooth things over, just pure, unfiltered consequences. I'm going to fight this. I'm going to sue. You can't just take my company. It was never your company. It was always our company. And now it's going to be run by people who actually did the work to build it. Marcus stands up. Mr. Carter, security will escort you from the building. You have 24 hours to arrange for pickup of personal items from your office. All company property, including phones, laptops, and access cards, will be surrendered before you leave today. Evelyn, Ryan says one more time. Please. I look at him. This man I loved. This man I built a life with. This man who taught me that trust can be a weapon used against you if you're not careful. I hope Lily was worth it, I say quietly. I hope those afternoons in your car, those lies you told, that feeling of getting away with something, I hope all of it was worth losing everything else. Security arrives. 2 men in Harrison Tech uniforms, professional and impersonal. Ryan stands up slowly, looking around the conference room like he's trying to memorize it. You'll regret this, he says to me. When the company falls apart without me, when you realize you can't do this alone, you'll regret it. I've been doing this alone for 3 years, I reply. You just didn't notice. They escort him out. The door closes. The conference room falls silent. James Harrison speaks first. Mrs. Carter, the board would like to formally offer you the position of interim CEO while we conduct a search for permanent leadership. I shake my head. I don't want to be CEO. I want to be CTO. I want to be in charge of innovation, of technology, of the actual work that makes this company run. Find someone good for the CEO role, someone who understands that success is a team effort, not a solo performance. Marcus nods slowly. That's very mature of you. It's not maturity, it's self-awareness. I know what I'm good at, I know where I belong, and it's not in Ryan's spotlight, it's in the lab, solving problems, building things that matter. The meeting ends. Board members file out, already making calls, already managing the crisis that's about to break when the press gets wind of this story. I stay in the conference room for a moment, alone with my thoughts. My phone buzzes. A text from the unknown number that sent me the video. I hope that helped. He didn't deserve you. None of us could understand why you stayed so quiet all these years. We're glad you finally spoke up. I stare at the message. I don't know who sent it. Could be someone from security who'd been monitoring the garage cameras. Could be an employee who'd watched Ryan's behavior for too long. Could be someone who simply believed I deserved better. I type back. Thank you for caring enough to send it. 3 dots appear, then disappear. No response comes. I walk to the window, look down at the parking garage entrance where this whole thing began. Ryan's SUV is still there, parked in his reserved spot, reserved CEO parking. He won't need that anymore. My phone rings. It's my lawyer. I saw the board notification. How do you feel? I feel tired, I say honestly, and sad and angry and relieved. Is it possible to feel all of those things at once? After what you've been through, it would be stranger if you didn't. He's going to fight this. He's going to claim I manipulated him, that I trapped him, that I'm a vindictive ex-wife destroying him out of spite. Let him claim whatever he wants. The evidence is on your side. The patent filings, the code repositories, the witnesses who remember you doing the actual development work. Not to mention the parking garage video that's probably already gone viral internally. I don't want to destroy him. I just want him to stop pretending he built this alone. Sometimes those two things are the same, my lawyer says gently. Sometimes destroying someone's false narrative is the only way to reveal the truth. We hang up. I stand at the window for a long time, watching Chicago spread out below me. This city where Ryan and I started with nothing. This city where we built something together until he decided the together part was optional. There's a knock at the door. I turn. It's Catherine. I wanted to check on you. That was intense. I'm fine, or I will be. For what it's worth, you should have gone public with your ownership years ago. Most of the senior team had no idea you were more than Ryan's wife. We thought you were just very interested in the company, very supportive. I wanted to be supportive. I wanted him to succeed. I just didn't realize that his version of success required erasing me from the story. Catherine nods. Men like Ryan, they have a gift for rewriting history, for making themselves the hero and everyone else the supporting cast. But the truth has a way of coming out eventually. It shouldn't have taken him cheating in a parking garage for that to happen. No, Catherine agrees. But sometimes the universe has a sense of drama. Sometimes the truth comes out in exactly the way it needs to, at exactly the right time. She leaves. I'm alone again. I think about Ryan's face when he realized what was happening. The shock, the anger, the desperation. Part of me feels guilty for that. Part of me still loves the man I thought he was. 7 years ago in that cramped apartment, dreaming about building something that mattered. But that man doesn't exist anymore. Maybe he never did. Maybe I was always in love with potential rather than reality. My phone buzzes again. Another text, this time from a number I recognize. Jessica Chen, my best friend from college, the one who warned me about Ryan's ego years ago. I heard, "Are you okay?" I type back, "I'm free? That's better than okay." 3 dots. Then, "Drinks tonight. You can tell me everything." I'd like that. I take the elevator down to the parking garage one more time. Ryan's SUV is still there. But now there's a bright orange sticker on the windshield. Unauthorized vehicle. Will be towed in 24 hours. Even his parking spot is being taken away. I walk to my own car, a modest sedan that I've driven for 5 years, long after we could afford something flashier. Ryan used to make jokes about it. used to suggest I upgrade to something more befitting a CEO's wife. I liked this car, it was mine, truly mine. Paid for with my salary from my actual job. The one I'd maintained even as the company grew. The one that gave me identity beyond being Mrs. Ryan Carter. I start the engine, drive up the ramp, exit into Friday afternoon sunshine. Somewhere in this city, Ryan is probably calling lawyers, calling contacts, calling anyone who might help him salvage his reputation. Somewhere in this city, Lily is probably updating her resume, trying to figure out how to explain a sudden termination from a high profile position. And I'm driving toward Jessica's apartment, toward a weekend of processing and healing, toward a future that's mine to define. There's a concept in physics called potential energy. Energy stored up, waiting to be released. I've been storing energy for 3 years, storing my voice, my truth, my identity, letting it build and build and build. Today, that energy was released, and the world shifted. Not because of anger, though I was angry, not because of revenge, though part of me wanted revenge, but because I finally understood something fundamental. I wasn't protecting my marriage by staying quiet. I was enabling my husband to live in a fantasy where he was the sole architect of success, where I was a convenient accessory, where truth was optional if it didn't serve his narrative. Some collapses don't take years. Some collapses take a single afternoon, a parking garage, and 47 witnesses. Some collapses begin the moment truth stops being optional. I pull up to a red light, look at myself in the rearview mirror. My eyes are dry, my hands are steady, my heart is beating at a normal pace. I'm going to be fine, better than fine. I'm going to be exactly who I was always meant to be before I decided that supporting someone else's dream was more important than acknowledging my own. The light turns green. I drive forward.